Now these are mixed numbers. If we put them in a calculator, we could convert them to a decimal value, but whenever you have a whole number or an integer, and I say an integer because that's a negative whole number, is included in integers, and a fractional value, it's a mixed number. Now we do need to know how to convert mixed numbers for the next few lessons that we're going to do. So I want to make sure that you know how to do that with the calculator. So what we're going to do is I'm going to write the steps on how to do so, and there is a difference between negative mixed numbers and positive mixed numbers, so we're going to look at some of those differences. So first of all, how do we convert a mixed number to a decimal? With the example of 3 and 1/5. Now notice that this is a positive number. There's no negative sign in front of the 3, so it's positive. So step 1 is we are going to type the integer into the calculator. So that's step 1. Now for some of you who still may be confused when I'm using the word integer, when I talk about integer, I'm talking about the number 3. So I'm going to draw a line right here and make sure you fill out your notes the same. So 3 is an integer. Step 2, you're going to add the fraction to the integer if it is positive. It is positive. And we're going to put a note right here. And I'm going to put subtract if negative. In other words, if that integer is negative, that's in front of the fractional value, you're going to have to subtract it instead of add it. And I'll show you why in just a moment. And when I'm talking about the fraction, I'm actually talking about the 1/5. So we're going to say that's the fractional part of this. Now step 3 is we're going to place a decimal after the denominator. And press enter. And the denominator is just this bottom number here. I'm going to draw an arrow to it. Now let's go ahead and follow these steps and put this in a calculator and complete the process. Alright, step 1 said type the integer into the calculator. So we're going to type it in. And then step 2 said add the fraction to the integer if it is positive. Well, 3 was positive, so I'm going to go ahead and add 1/5. So notice to put that fraction bar, I hit Control and then I hit divide. Then step 3 says place a decimal after the denominator and press enter. So I'm going to put a decimal in this denominator, that's right after the number 5, and then I'm going to hit enter. And so this in decimal form would be equivalent to 3.2. So I'm just going to write out what we did in the calculator. We actually had 3 plus 1/5, and we put a decimal after it, and our calculator said that was equal to 3.2. Now I do want you to know that if you have a negative integer, in other words the first number, that whole number that's right in the front, if it is negative, then you need to subtract the fraction. So let's go ahead and just do an example real quick. And what we're going to do is we're going to write that example up here in the top of our notes, and that's where I'll be checking for it. So right up here, I'm going to write negative, and we're going to say, let's say negative 2 and 1/6. Negative 2 and 1/6. And we're going to put this into the calculator, following the steps that we would follow for the same process. The only difference is we're going to subtract because we have a negative, right? Negative integer in front. So let's see what that looks like. So I'm going to put my -2, which is my integer of this second example we're doing. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Divide. Oh, actually, let me rephrase it. I'm actually going to hit minus. Forgot to put the minus sign. And when I say minus, I want you to look at the key that just lit up red. I did not use the negative sign. We only use that negative sign that's in the parentheses when it's the first number of an expression. In other words, let me go back and delete. When I said it was -2 1/6, I hit the negative. That's the white button where it's got the negative sign in the parentheses. And then the 2. But for anything that comes after that first number, we're always going to use the minus sign. So we're going to say minus, and then we're going to hit Control Divide for our fraction bar and do 1/6. Now, so far we've done step 1 and step 2. Step 3 says we put a decimal after the denominator, and then I'm going to hit enter. And notice it gives me -2.16667.